Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Leadnap Gaming. Today we're going to do the DYK bombing tutorial for the M71 bomb and the AJS-37 Viggen for DCS World. If you haven't already, I highly recommend heading over and looking at the M71 bombing base tutorial, which will give you how these tutorials are laid out. Also, just a quick note that annotations are in use. That's how I am putting the links in for you to navigate around the different bombing tutorials. So if you have annotations off, go ahead and turn them on. DYK bombing theory is based on high-precision dive bombing techniques. It's designed to strike point targets, and it uses target waypoints as the method of defining these. This mode is a lot less on-the-fly user-friendly than level bombing is, because the CK-37 computer is basing its information against the target waypoint. The HUD's used to establish the firing point and then steering cues and guide the pilot to deliver efficiently. This mode is very accurate when used properly. Submodes for DYK bombing is precision and quick release. Precision release is set by ANF in the master mode. It uses target motion measurement and radar ranging against a specified impact point. Quick release, on the other hand, is set in nav on the master mode and only uses triangulation to determine the release point. For direct release, the HUD will display targeting and steering commands through the release. Radar ranging is only used after the safety is released. It's just an important thing to know. Set ANF to master mode and set your bomb interval to 10 to 60 meters. 10 to 20 meter release will result in generally uniform destruction in this mode and is most ideal in this deployment mode. These are dive bombing techniques, so the long area, kind of long swath of destruction approaches aren't ideal. You could probably just leave this in the default 20 and always be happy. If you're looking for a little more insurance, the 10 meter mode is always a good one. The HUD Symbology for DYK, and I'm going to just tell you now, this is true for both release modes in DYK. When you're in ANF, the ring indicates the target waypoint. If the distance line appears, triangulation for ranging is being used, and the fin appears when radar ranging is in use. It's important to understand that the first two examples of the HUD here in this diagram are with a safed trigger in ANF and only relates to the precision mode. When you unsafe the trigger, it does not, this is where from here out it's the same if you're in quick or precision. When you unsafe the trigger in nav, the target symbology will all come up on this. If you're in ANF and you unsafe the trigger, this will all continue and it'll continue to bring you the remaining target indications here. As you can see here, the ring will disappear when you unsafe the trigger if you were in ANF. So the distance line is going to flash 2 seconds before the release, and then half a second prior to the release, the wings will appear. This is your firing indicator to press the trigger. With the trigger pressed, the ring will appear again, and that is as a steering cue. You need to maintain flight in the queue with the trigger held until the weapon release indication. If you fly outside of those steering commands, it will not release. When the last bomb is released, steering cue will disappear, and then you can release the trigger and safe the trigger. If the 2-degree pulls appear and are flashing, you didn't follow the steering cues, and the release has been aborted by the computer. At that point, release the trigger, go ahead and put it back to safe, and perform evasive action, because bombs are not going to be falling, but you are flying headlong towards probably something that fires back at you. That's kind of where you see, again, as you're flying, just looking at the kind of diagram here to the side. Assuming you did everything right, ignore the second to last indicator. You'll be flying with the vector indicator inside the ring, and then the ring will disappear. When the ring disappears, the follow the last light should be coming on, and you're good to go. Welcome back to the pit for the precision mode here. As we get going, let's just go ahead and take a look. You can see that we're in the DYK mode, and we do want to make sure we set our QFE from our knee board. Now, I had already done so because I knew it was 1012, but that was just that. So as we kind of get moving here, one thing you are going to see me do is go ahead and drop my HUD down, and that's just because you're going to see a lot of the symbology is going to move down really low through this dive, and that'll help us out. Now, conventionally, you would want to approach this from an off angle and be able to roll onto the target just to observe, to locate your target on the ground through the canopy is the reason you would do that. In this case, I have a giant smoke marker that's going to appear over my target, which really helps me to find it, so I'm not as concerned. But you can see we're going to kind of begin bringing our dive in here. And it's not going to be a super dive like you would do in like a conventional dive bomber. If we had started from a much higher altitude, that would of course be an option. But as we get going here, we're just going to come in, follow our cues, take a little ground fire, and release, and then pull out and evade. So let's take a look at the damage and see what we did. For direct release, the HUD displays targeting and steering commands through the release. It can be used against conventional navigation waypoint, which does make it different. It's set by nav on the master mode. HUD targeting information appears on unsafing of the trigger. I already mentioned that when we looked at the HUD, and we're not going to see a HUD for this mode because, again, the HUD is the same in both modes. Just like the precision mode, 10 to 20 release interval is generally going to result in the best destruction for this. Setting yourself into the higher modes, it just doesn't really do anything. Your best results will always be achieved at the bottom two for that. So now a look at the quick mode. For the quick mode, you can see here, my weapons modes are all kind of set as they would have been pre-flight, but we just have a regular navigational waypoint up, as you can see, and we're just kind of cruising along, and we're just going to decide to attack that point. So as I get going here, you're going to see we're going to dive, and I'm going to unsafe my trigger on what I'm trying to hit. Right there. And then just like the precision mode, we're just going to kind of follow the cues. Here's our warning, wings, release, and pull out. So let's go ahead and take a look. But there you have it. That's DYK bombing. Hopefully this really helped, and let me know down in the comments. Was something unclear? Is there something that wasn't explained well? Is there something you liked? And don't forget to hit subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time.